In 1995, a hiker mysteriously disappears in the Oregon mountains. Rumors soon circulate among the locals, claiming the man has been infected with a wildlife-related virus known as Hill's fever. The indigenous people, however, refer to it as the face of the wolf. One day, Grady takes his son Blake hunting in the forest. Blake frequently gets distracted by mushrooms and birds, prompting Grady to remind him that staying focused is crucial for survival. Suddenly, Blake spots something nearby, and Grady confirms it's a deer. As he prepares to take a shot, the deer bolts away, and when Grady turns back, he realizes Blake is missing. Blake has settled in a spot to wait for the deer, but instead catches sight of a mysterious creature that vanishes moments later. When he searches for it again, he hears ominous growling. Terrified, Blake begins to back away as the growling intensifies. Suddenly, he's startled by Grady, who scolds him for not obeying his instructions. Hearing more rustling in the trees, Grady senses danger and hurriedly leads Blake to hide in a hunting blind. Grady readies his gun as a mysterious creature begins to climb the ladder towards them. It attempts to force its way through the door but fails, instead moving around to try and approach from the back. Just then, an animal appears nearby, causing the creature to leap down to attack it. When Grady peeks outside, he sees a mauled deer on the ground. He spots the creature lurking nearby and tries to shoot it, but it swiftly escapes, its howling echoing through the forest. Blake asks what the creature was, and Grady dismissively tells him it was just a bear. That night, Grady calls his friend Dan to share that he encountered the wolf. It becomes clear that Grady has been documenting and researching this enigmatic beast for some time. Dan is skeptical about pursuing it, but Grady insists it's essential for the safety of their children. Blake overhears their conversation while examining his father's tattoo. Fast forward 30 years, Blake is now married to Charlotte, and they have a daughter named Ginger. One evening, he receives a significant letter containing keys, revealing that his father has been officially declared dead by the state of Oregon after years of being missing. While Blake anticipated this news, he is still taken aback, wishing he had spent more time with his father, especially since he left home as soon as he became an adult. The next day, Blake visits Charlotte at work and expresses his feelings of distance in their relationship. Receiving the letter has motivated him to prioritize time with his family. Since he needs to travel to Oregon to collect his father's belongings, Blake suggests they spend the entire summer there together. Later, while driving to Oregon, Blake halts the truck at a fork in the road. He attempts to check the map on his phone but finds there is no service. At that moment, Ginger spots a man in a hunting blind and alerts her parents as the armed figure approaches. It turns out to be Derek, Dan's son and Blake's childhood friend. Derek explains that few people live in the area anymore and that the usual route to Grady's old farm is blocked. He offers to guide them and hops into the car. That evening, their journey takes a dark turn when the mysterious creature suddenly appears in the middle of the road, confirming it to be a wolf. Blake swerves to avoid it, but the car crashes into a ditch, getting lodged against a tree. Fortunately, Blake quickly regains consciousness and checks on his family, who are unharmed. Derek, eager to escape, opens the door but tumbles to the ground as the truck is on its side. Blake instructs his family to carefully climb out through the window, but they suddenly hear growling. Looking in the rearview mirror, they spot the wolf approaching, prompting Blake to reach for the door to close it while witnessing a wounded Derek groaning on the ground. Without warning, the wolf smashes through the window, causing broken glass to cut Blake. The creature then leaps onto Derek, finishing him off before dragging the body away. Seizing the moment, Blake and his family jump out of the truck and start searching for Grady's house. When they finally see it, the wolf appears behind them and begins to chase them. The family runs as fast as they can and makes it to the building just in time. They rush inside and slam the door shut, causing the wolf to begin pounding on it while Blake braces against it. After several intense minutes of relentless banging, the creature finally gives up and retreats. Once the danger seems to have passed, Blake grabs a flashlight and heads to the basement to turn on the generator, illuminating the house and farm buildings. Ginger expresses a desire to go home, but Blake explains that it's too dangerous to venture out at night, so they'll have to wait until morning. He also apologizes for not protecting her, leading to a heartfelt bonding moment. Charlotte wonders what sort of creature they encountered on the road, and Blake shares that he saw an animal standing on 2 feet like a person. Afterward, Blake pushes a cupboard against the door for added security and grabs his father's old radio in an attempt to call for help, but there's no response. Just then, he catches a whiff of a strange smell and follows it into another room, where he is shocked to discover a stash of meat and jerky. He samples some, only to feel pain in his jaw, prompting him to realize he must have injured himself during the crash. Suddenly, one of Blake's teeth breaks and falls out, prompting a worried Charlotte to insist he sits down so she can examine his injuries. She discovers a deep cut on his arm and begins to clean it. Blake speculates that he must have been hurt by the broken window, but Charlotte counters that it doesn't appear to be a glass cut. After bandaging his arm, she returns to the radio to continue trying to reach for help. Sometime later, Blake starts nailing wood to the floor in front of the cupboard at the door for added security. His hands tremble, making it hard for him to grip the hammer, and he ends up hitting his fingers. Sweating profusely, he heads to the kitchen for some water, only to hear thumping noises coming from a distance. Hammer in hand, he follows the sound upstairs, realizing it's emanating from a specific room. As Blake cautiously enters, he discovers the source of the noise, a spider in the wardrobe. Suddenly, he starts feeling dizzy and struggles to breathe. The sensation lasts only a few seconds, and once he regains his composure, he heads downstairs to check on his family. He finds Charlotte and Ginger safe on the couch, but he soon hears footsteps approaching, accompanied by more growling sounds. Moving slowly toward the window, Blake starts sniffing the air as someone passes outside. Charlotte notices her husband's odd behavior and finds it unsettling. Just as Blake approaches the door, the wolf reaches in through the pet door, grabbing him by the leg in an attempt to drag him outside. In a desperate move, Charlotte grabs the hammer and strikes the wolf's arm, forcing it to release Blake. He screams in intense pain before losing consciousness. Sometime later, Blake awakens on the couch and searches for his family, only to hear a strange, distorted noise. He follows the sound into the basement, where he finds Ginger sleeping and Charlotte still trying to get help on the radio. After another failed attempt, she throws the microphone in frustration. Just then, she hears Blake wheezing and turns to see him standing in the shadows. Blake tries to communicate as he moves toward her, but only mumbled sounds escape his lips. Charlotte expresses her worry about him, unsure of what to do. As Blake begins to wet his pants, she quickly takes him upstairs. Lying down, Blake notices that his hair is falling out. Charlotte brings him a pen and paper, hoping he can write down his thoughts. Despite struggling to grip the pen, Blake eventually manages to spell out dying. Charlotte reassures him that he's just sick and will recover soon. As she continues to speak words of love and comfort, Blake stares blankly. He can't hear her, and his vision takes on a distorted, bluish hue. He attempts to explain what's happening to him, but Charlotte cannot comprehend. When he tries to talk to Ginger, he notices blood on his hand. After asking Ginger to wait in another room, Charlotte rolls up Blake's sleeves and removes the bandage, revealing the horrific condition of his arm. As Blake hisses in distress, he bolts from Charlotte and starts scratching his arm frantically against the wall. To Charlotte's horror, he then begins to eat at the wound, and with each bite, more teeth fall out. Suddenly, he stops and gazes at a terrified Charlotte for a few moments before walking away. She follows him, but their inability to communicate leaves her feeling helpless, prompting her to let him be. Later, Charlotte glances out the window and spots Grady's old car outside. In a rush, she heads to the basement to find the keys and a battery, followed by a knife from the kitchen. Charlotte drags her family to the car, struggling to help Blake into the back seat as he can barely move. As she assists Ginger, a chilling howl echoes through the area, sending shivers down their spines. Charlotte rushes to the hood of the car to connect the battery to the engine, while Ginger watches in horror as Blake begins to transform into a wolf. After a few tense moments, Charlotte moves to the driver's seat and tries to start the car. Initially, it doesn't respond, but after several attempts, the engine finally roars to life. She quickly disconnects the battery and prepares to drive away. Just as they're about to leave, the wolf suddenly leaps onto the car hood, shattering the window and breaking the gear lever. In a panic, Charlotte grabs the knife and starts attacking the creature, buying just enough time for her family to escape the car and run. The wolf pursues them, but they manage to climb to the top of the greenhouse. Blake pulls up the ladder, preventing the beast from following. Undeterred, the wolf enters the greenhouse and waits patiently. Soon, the structure starts to buckle under the weight of the three of them, with pins popping out and the ceiling beginning to give way. As the wolf jumps and slashes at the ceiling, creating holes, a terrified Ginger attempts to move towards Charlotte but falls through one of the openings. Her parents grab her just in time, pulling her back to safety before the wolf can strike. Blake, now fully transformed, growls and gestures toward the house, urging his family to go back. He then leaps off the greenhouse and dashes into the forest, drawing the wolf's attention away from Charlotte and Ginger. As the wolf chases after Blake, Charlotte and Ginger rush back inside. Amid the chaos, Ginger cries out, accusing her mother of abandoning her father. Charlotte, with a heavy heart, explains that Blake was trying to protect them, emphasizing the danger they all face. Suddenly, they hear growling outside, prompting Charlotte to look out the window and confirm it's Blake before opening the door. He staggers inside and collapses on the living room floor as his body continues to morph into something monstrous. Ginger approaches cautiously, initially startled by his snarling, but she musters the courage to gently touch his forehead, telling him she loves him. Unfortunately, Blake is unable to comprehend her words. His vision has become increasingly blue and distorted. Out of nowhere, Blake bends over and violently vomits blood, his nails falling from his fingers. Ginger screams in horror, and Charlotte quickly drags her away. In the midst of the chaos, Blake is horrified to find a human finger among the contents of his vomit. Overcome with rage, he snarls and leaps over the table, lunging toward his family. Charlotte stands her ground, refusing to flinch as Blake growls at her. Meeting his wife's gaze allows Blake to momentarily calm down, but when he tries to leave the house, he's tackled to the ground by the wolf. A fierce struggle ensues as the beast bites Blake and begins to pummel him. After several brutal hits, the wolf starts flinging Blake against walls and furniture. In a brave attempt to help, Charlotte rushes in and stabs the wolf in the back with a knife. The creature redirects its fury toward her and Ginger, revealing a missing finger, confirming that it was the one Blake spat out earlier. As Charlotte hides Ginger in another room, Blake blocks the wolf's path, determined to fight again. A fierce battle erupts, filled with biting and punching, but Blake ultimately gets knocked out. The wolf seizes the opportunity to drag Blake's unconscious body through the corridor. Charlotte, desperate to protect her daughter, grabs a fire poker and strikes the wolf on the back, successfully distracting it away from Ginger's hiding place. She even lands a hit to its face, but the wolf skillfully dodges her third attempt, leaving Charlotte on edge as the fight continues. Suddenly, Blake tackles the beast, pinning it to the floor. With a fierce determination, he bites into its neck, ensuring he goes deep enough to finally end its life. As the struggle concludes, Blake takes a closer look at the creature and is shocked to see the tattoo on its arm. It's his father, Grady. He realizes that Grady became a werewolf after going missing years ago and has now passed the curse on to him. Overcome with a whirlwind of pain and complex emotions, Blake rushes outside, falling to the ground as his transformation completes. His nails morph into claws, his body becomes covered in extra hair, and his teeth elongate into fangs. As his vision settles, he comprehends that the cacophony of sounds he's been hearing is a result of his enhanced senses. Now fully transformed into a werewolf, Blake unleashes a powerful howl. Inside the house, Charlotte is comforting Ginger when the power suddenly goes out. She peers through the window and gasps in shock as she sees her husband fully transformed, rushing toward the house. Grabbing a knife for protection, she follows the noises, only to turn around and find Blake looming behind Ginger. When he tries to approach, Charlotte slashes his arm, causing him to take the knife from her. The two quickly flee the house, seeking refuge in the barn. Moments later, Blake appears at the door, breaking through the wood and digging under it to get inside. His ability to see in the dark allows him to approach his family undetected. However, as he takes another step, his foot becomes trapped in a bear trap that Charlotte had set up. Mother and daughter scream in panic and turn on a flashlight to escape, while Blake struggles against the trap, realizing it's holding him captive. Desperate, he decides to sever his foot to free himself, and then he chases after his family into the forest. They stumble upon Derek's arm and the truck, still wedged in a tree. Charlotte seizes Derek's gun, and she and Ginger dart away to hide in the hunting blind. Soon, Blake climbs the ladder, peering in at his family and attempting to communicate with low growls. Ginger senses her father's intention to end the chaos, and when he tries to step inside, Charlotte, startled, fires the gun. The shot resonates in the quiet forest, and mother and daughter emerge from the blind to witness Blake's demise, crying for him together. As dawn breaks, Charlotte and Ginger gaze upon the stunning valley that Blake once cherished as a child, filled with a mix of sorrow and bittersweet memories. Subscribe to watch more videos like this, leave a comment about your favorite movie, and we will make it next. Thanks for watching.